Hey, let me let you in on a little secret. Come here, let's talk real quick. You don't need the latest graphics card. I'm talking to the person out there that's been PC gaming for 10 plus years and still plays CS and League of Legends and all the games that have existed years ago. You really don't need any of these new cards. Quit lying to yourself. You don't need to upgrade. This is really all you need. This right here is an RX 470 4GB from Sapphire that we bought on eBay for $40, and you can too. Are there compromises with it? Yes, but it can play pretty much any esports title out there. The Fortnite, the Rainbow Six Siege, the Valorant, CSGO, League of Legends, you name it. This thing will have no problems playing those games, and you don't need to spend $200, $300, $400. You can just spend 40 bucks. Are you interested? Well, we're gonna dive into some benchmarks of this graphics card and show you guys exactly how well it performs in 2023. But first, a word from today's sponsor.
Today's video is brought to you by our friends at Team Group and their Computex 2023 event, where they are showcasing some of their new products. Team Group is gonna be coming to the market with a new SSD cooler and their own Gen 5 SSD with speeds reaching 14,000 megabytes per second. Stay tuned for content around that. You can also enter for a giveaway to win a wide range of products from some of their partners like motherboards, power supplies, and cases. We love using Team Group products and love the new stuff that they are bringing to the market. So if you want to learn more about what Team Group is coming out with 2023 and beyond, check the link in the description down below and be sure to enter that giveaway as well for some awesome prizes. Thanks again to Team Group for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the video, shall we?
So these graphics cards are X mining cards, and that's why they only have one display out. They even have some that have no displays out because that was their only purpose in life, was to mine crypto. But these ones that have a single DVI out are actually pretty cool because they're the legit graphics card. They're just really dumbed down.
It's funny because it has 2048 stream processors, which is the same as these 580s out there. But let's go over some of the key tech specs of this graphics card and why you should consider it. Then we'll be throwing it in our test bench to see how it performs. So this graphics card is again an RX 470 mining edition, and it has a base clock of 927 megahertz with a boost of 1206 megahertz, and it was released back in August 4th of 2016. It does have 4 gigs of GDDR5 VRAM, and it does come with a 120 watt TDP with a suggested power supply of 300 watts, and it uses one 8-pin connector. Now, this graphics card does support the latest technology. You can use FSR, you can use DX12, so really it is an older GPU, but it still has the ability to play the latest titles at lower settings. But how well exactly? Well, let's talk about this test bench and then dive into it.
So to go over the test bench that we use for all of these graphics cards, we have the Ryzen 7 5700X 8-core 16-thread to make sure we're not holding back any GPUs. We now have 32 gigs of PNY Accelerate, 3600 megahertz, so we have a lot more capacity, dual channel. We're definitely not being bottlenecked by RAM anymore. We have a 1 terabyte NVMe M.2 SSD from Team Group. We have a B550 Asus TUF motherboard, a 650 watt XPG power supply, and then a nice big open deep cool case to make sure that our temps are good.
So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put this graphics card in our test bench, play it in the latest titles, some AAA titles and esports titles, and let you all know, should you buy this card for the price? Let's do it. All right, guys, now that we have this RX 470 on our test bench, let's dive into some game testing, shall we? Now, the games we decided to test are as follows. We have Far Cry 6, we have Cyberpunk, we have Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, and Fortnite. Now, first up, before we dive into the testing, we do have to get something out of the way. As we mentioned at the beginning of this video, this graphics card is DVI only, and at $40, that compromise may be worth it, but just spending, let's say, like $10 or $20 more can get you a full-fledged RX 580 2048 stream processor from something like AliExpress. And for most people, that's probably a better option. But if you're on a really tight budget, or maybe can find these for even cheaper or in bulk, if you're a PC flipper and you want to buy these things for like 20 bucks a piece, I think you're gonna be really happy with the value for the money here. So let's dive into the game testing and show you why. First up, we have Far Cry 6, a new game to the GPU benchmarking suite, and at 1080p low settings with balanced FSR, I was incredibly surprised with the results. We got an average of 111 FPS, a max of 121, and a minimum of 98. FSR works incredibly well on Far Cry 6, albeit the quality isn't amazing. When you're using FSR at 1080p, you are upscaling from basically 720p or below to make it work, so there's a little bit of artifacting issues there, but for the most part, it runs pretty dang well, and getting a high refresh rate experience on this $40 graphics card in a game like Far Cry 6 is very impressive and nothing to look over. Now let's go ahead and switch to another more demanding game. We have Cyberpunk. We ended up testing this at 1080p low settings with the balanced FSR preset, and we got an average of 58 FPS, a minimum of 39, and a max of 81. Cyberpunk is definitely a more demanding game, but as you can see here, the technology of FSR allows this graphics card to way outperform its weight class and get an average of 58 FPS in a game that really shouldn't allow this card to work at all. It's a very demanding title, but it's at least somewhat playable using FSR. And I know a lot of people frown at FSR, but in reality, if you're buying a cheap GPU like this, there's no reason you shouldn't be using it because it makes your gaming experience significantly better and doesn't really sacrifice quality all that much, especially if you're gaming on a budget. I'm used to gaming on a budget years ago with my first gaming PC. I really wish technologies like FSR existed because I wouldn't feel as inclined to upgrade because I could just use this card and play games at somewhat lower quality, but get exactly the results that I'm looking for without spending hundreds of dollars on a graphics card. Now, FSR wasn't as good in Cyberpunk as it was in Far Cry 6, but it still did perform pretty well, and I think we were limited by the 4 gigs of VRAM on this card. That is the main downside versus some of the other 580s out there. You can get 8 gigs of VRAM that'll allow you to stretch even further in these games that are more VRAM dependent, especially the newer games, but really, we just wanted to test these as a worst case scenario because I think esports titles is where this thing is going to shine. And speaking of one of those esports titles that's pretty demanding to run, Apex Legends. We have it at 1080p medium-high settings, and we got about 70 to 80 FPS, 90 plus FPS at times, more than playable with this graphics card. Honestly, games like Apex Legends, you got your Valorants, all the other esports games that we will run through with this benchmark, they're not gonna have any problems getting 60 plus FPS on a $40 GPU. In terms of planning a gaming PC with this thing, if you're able to get this thing for $40 or less, you could do something like the i3-10100. That's the easy choice because you can buy those new readily available, and if you wanna buy one, check the link in the description down below. Will be affiliate link and will help us out, and it'll allow you to build a gaming PC for like $300 that's easily upgradable and uses almost all new parts minus the GPU. But if you want to get cheap with it, you can deal hunt for some older Ryzen CPUs, is what we're going to be doing with a PC build guide coming to the channel very soon, so stay subscribed for that. But there's a lot of different options you can go with this card to make an ultra cheap gaming PC at 1080p in 2023. Now, a game that's going to be a little bit hard to run on this, and as you'll see during the benchmarks, is Warzone 2.0. We end up running this at 1080p basic settings with performance FSR. Again, FSR is going to help us out here to make this thing very usable. And we got 60 plus FPS, 90s at times, but the latencies were a little bit high. We were approaching the 10 to 11 millisecond range at times, which I think is playable, but it is noticeable. You really want those milliseconds to be below 10 milliseconds on average to get a much smoother gaming experience. But we're talking about a $40 GPU here. Again, I really can't complain too much. It's performing way outside its class, especially with FSR enabled, and I really think having FSR technology is what makes this card even viable. Now, you want to talk about a game that makes absolutely perfect sense for this graphics card, Fortnite. Now, disclaimer, Fortnite is a game that is CPU dependent, but we try to run the settings to where the GPU will get the most out of it possibly can. And we end up getting 100 plus FPS on average, and we almost used all the VRAM we had to offer. Fortnite has been good at sucking a lot of RAM and taking a lot of VRAM from graphics cards, so having 4 plus gigs of VRAM is pretty much essential to run this game at decent settings, but it still looks pretty good at medium preset. And overall, I think this card is an absolute steal. Now, yes, again, when we're talking about sub $100 cards, just spending $10 to $15 more could get you in a totally different weight class of GPU, but that's just with anything nowadays. If you spend more money, you'll get more performance. But if you're on an absolute tight budget or in a region where these cards are the only option available to you, yes, the DVI only one output is a problem. It's going to be a single monitor graphics card for its life. It is a little bit disappointing, but that is a compromise I think most people would be willing to make for a very simple esports gaming PC that you can build yourself for $300 or less, probably even $200 or less, and that's pretty competitive if you want to get in the PC space. So this graphics card most definitely gets our approval because of the price point and the fact that it still performs very well for the money. And if you want to pick one up yourself, check the link in the description down below. But now we finished the benchmarking section of today's video. How to bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
Alright guys, you probably expected some decent results for 35 bucks, and we definitely are here to report those. So we're able to play esports titles at medium to even high settings sometimes. Then obviously newer AAA titles, although this card was kind of designed for OG AAAs, the newer ones a little more demanding, so you do have to run some lower settings.
And when it comes to graphics cards under $50, I mean, this is pretty much the best buy you can get right now. Yes, the DVI is a compromise, but really, in terms of performance, you ain't gonna find anything regularly that's gonna match this. So if you wanna buy one yourself, check the link in the description down below. It will be a affiliate link and it will help us out. Let us know what you think of the RX 470 as well. Would you trade the Would you trade the performance you're getting for the compromise of DVI only, or would you rather get less performance to have multiple monitors out? Let us know down below.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
So this graphics card will be in another Toasty Bros video, but on top of that, it'll be sold at PCBros.tech, so you could get a PC that's actually featured on the Toasty Bros set, and you get a 1-year warranty with it.
PCBros.tech, we have some awesome deals on gaming laptops, gaming PCs, and so much more, especially merch, and those mouse pads are coming soon. I promise you guys, those mouse pads are coming soon, and use code ToastyBros2 on checkout. You'll save 2% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Goodbye.
Peace out.